So hi again. Uh, this should be the finals match, but this match didn't really happen because I decided to ask my opponent to like split the prices, and they agreed. And yeah, that was the match. Uh, I was even more happy about it because I thought that this matchup would be pretty bad for me because I read. Uh, Between my semifinals and finals that my opponent was playing blue white hammer list with five main deck copies of creatures with protection from red, so I would have really hard times even with those white removal spells that they can help in this matchup. So yeah, that was the finals. I split them, so there will be no games. Uh, and I would like to say a bit more about the deck and the way I want. I think it can go, uh, considering what happened in the tournament and what happens going forward. Because I'm recording it a few weeks after the challenge, so I know how the meta shaped up. So if you want to change the deck according to the current meta game, can look different. The first card, the cards I want to talk about are for sure like those five main deck copies of white removal spells. Few weeks after my challenge, because I don't know it was one or two. Uh, Max Variety, Max Attack on MTGO, top four the challenge with pretty similar deck list, but with Unholy Heat in the main deck. And I think that this is a pretty good alternative for Path to Exile, because you have Delirium a lot of times, and when we don't have Delirium, it is still a good shock. Maybe that point not good shock, but regular shock. But after that, it can kill most of the creatures in modern. The only creatures it can really struggle, like what I was telling, that this is the biggest advantage of Path to Exile over anything else, is Murktide Regent. But at this point, Murktide Regent is pretty much out of the format. Like Grixis Shadow overshadowed it as a premier DRC Ragavan deck. Mm, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. But I think you still want to play two or three paths in the sideboard. That's for sure. The rest of the sideboard, it's you have to change it according to your metagame. If it is MTGO metagame, it can look different. If it's your uh, LGS metagame, uh, it could be different. I think the cards that are untouchable is of course Lurus, Alpine Moon. Outside of pretty strange metagames, it's a must, I think, because you really need that against possible Tron decks and this Urza Saga decks. Uh, Graveyard Hate, we saw last week's, we saw Rise of Upsal Spells deck piloted by Sodek, my good friend, to the top 8 of the Modern Challenge, and we really need something for this matchup, and this Soulgate Lantern is pretty crucial here. Werther is also pretty good. We still can play against random artifacts and enchantments, so it's good to have it. Prismatic Ending and Path to Exile, as I said, Prismatic Ending for a lot of people is too clunky in the deck. It being sorcery can be tough a lot of times, but I think having at least 2-3 between the main and the sideboard is a must. I think I would opt for like 3-4 between the main and the sideboard, like 2-2, 2-1, something like that. And puffs, I think is still necessary. It's like the best we can do. And those 4 slots, I think are cards, like they are flex slots. Core Firewalker is, like as I said, really good against Burn. I sided in against Murktide Regent. I didn't side it in against Grixis Shadow. But I think like Burn is so popular in a lot of meta games that you have to be prepared for it. And even in the MTGO meta, where in the challenge is like Burn is nowhere near the top tier, in the leagues you still can face Burn because it's pretty cheap and pretty easy to play. Like it's the modern classic. And Deflecting Palm being good against like as I said, Belcher, Hammer, maybe other random stuff. I think you still want it, but not always. The cards you can think about is something for Cascade matchups. I think that Cascades at this point are pretty well positioned in Modern. Like Living can't have a lot of good matchups in the tier 1 category. Like it can't really lose to Hammer. Like it can, but it's really dunking on it. So I think you can play something for those matchups. Max opted for Chalice of the Void, I think, and he is the best alternative. I tried Curse of Silence cards from one of the newest set. I can show it, but I'm showing it to you only to say to you that don't try it. It's not really worth. It sounds sweet. It might have some merit sometimes, but I think it's too bad of a card and we don't really want to play it. So something for Cascades. Rhinos is like pretty strange matchup looking at it because it's they still want to mid-range you out. Like they want to cast few removal spells with Fury, Dead Gone, Fire Eyes, and follow it up with like 2/4/4s. So even if you deal for the moment with the 4/4s, they can still like over like they can still beat you with like honest beats of other creatures. So still Chalice is good against them because it's stopping like only our Mishra's Bubble. And the last Cascade deck is the like the new like all the new all new deck that is putting like random permanents. I can't remember the name of it. What is it? Something for tomorrow. Sorry about that. But for this deck, like it's also a mid-range deck that try to mid-range you, and some like when you are not doing enough, they can just combo you out of nowhere. So that's basically it. That was the whole challenge. Hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed as much as I did. If you have any questions, if you like saw something saw some mistakes that I didn't saw, you can write it in the comments. You can write the private message on Twitter. There I'm Fracom94. I will put it in the description for sure. And yeah, any likes, subscribes would be much appreciated. If you see like any technical things I could make better for the future, please write it because I'm learning this because it's like first time I'm doing something for the YouTube. So this is an experiment for me, but I think this was a good opportunity to do so. So, yeah, uh, hope you had a good time and cheers.